And welcome. Today we are going to build a traffic light. And this traffic light should start working with a button, correct? If I press a button, the traffic light is going to start working. So I need one input because this input it's the button. This input it's the start signal for my traffic light, and I need three outputs because I have the red light, the yellow light, and the green light, correct? Three signals, three outputs, and only one input, my button. So this is almost exactly the same from the previous video. And if you remember, if we have inputs, we are going to use the LED. And then I'm going to use port 0 as my first input, port 1 as my second, port 2 as my third input. These are my inputs. And I'm going to use port 3. Sorry, this is my outputs. Outputs, and this is my input. So these are digital inputs because I have 0 value or 1 value. Then I'm going to draw the circuit for the red light. The first connection goes to port 0. So I'm going to have this, my port 0, and from this I'm going to have an output signal. And remember, we need to limitate the current through my LED. So I'm going to use my resistance 313 ohms. We know this from the previous video. And the port is going to provide a 5-volt signal if I send a true value into my port. So this is going to become positive. So my LED positive section goes to the port and the negative goes to negative, to the ground. And that's it. Really easy. We know this from the previous video. And the same goes for the other outputs because the work is exactly the same. So point 1, point 2, actually this is something like this, and maybe we can put in here red, and again I have my resistance 313 and positive, negatives, and ground. Again something like this, my light, and this is yellow, and this is green. And that's it. Really easy. We know this from the previous video. And we also know this from my previous video. I have a port 3 input, port 3 port of my Arduino. And then I got a button, my push button, and this push button it's going to provide a 5 volts connection, and we need to be sure that when I do not press the button I send a 0 button. You remember from the previous video I explained that usually on the air we have electrons moving around because your computer is irradiating electricity, your body is irradiating electricity, we have the cell phone signal moving around the air, and so all these electrons can gather together in here and produce a noise, non-desired signals. So in order to avoid some non-desired signal, we include this resistance, again 313 ohms, and we send the signal to negative. So in case of some of these electrons gathered together here, they follow this path. I explained this on the previous video. So just let me finish cleaning this, and that's it. This is the circuit, really easy circuit for my traffic light, correct? Now allow me to minimize this window so we can build the circuit, but this time I'm going to use the simulator to build this circuit because some of you have some questions about how using the simulator. So this time I'm going to build this circuit using my simulator, and this is it. Let me also minimize this, and that's it. Very nice. So this is almost the same as I told you from the previous video. I need to provide negative connection, you see, GND port from my Arduino card to my breadboard. And as you can see, I have electrical connections all in this line. You see, if I put any connection in here, I got this red notification. This means that I have electrical connection on all these lines. The same goes for the red line. I got electrical connection from positive 5 volts to all this line, and thanks to these wires, red and black, I have the positive connection from here to here. And now again I got all these connections on the red line. The same goes for negative. Here I provide negative connection and I got negative or ground in all these connections. And then, as I told you, I'm going to use the port 0 as my first output, and this is going to be connected to the red diode, to the red light. And check, I used the resistance first. I connected my resistance just between the port and the LED. And here in my circuit, I used the resistance after the LED. In this case, there is no problem, and I wanted to do this because I want to show you that there is no problem. Actually, it's exactly the same if I have my port, my LED, and my resistance. It's exactly the same. You see? The quantity of electrons moving through this element is exactly the same of the electrons moving through this element, because if you remember, I told you that the total resistance in a serial connection, we have serial connection because we have one element after another element. So the total resistance, it's the summatory of the resistance of the diode plus the resistance of the resistance, I mean 313. And it's exactly the same if I have first my resistance and after this I have my diode. So I wanted to show this right now. It's the same if I have first the resistance and after the resistance I got the diode, or I got the diode and after the diode I got the resistance. So in my circuit I draw first the resistance, but here I put first the diode and after that I put the resistance. But now you know, because they are in a serial connection, their total resistance is exactly the same, and then we have the same result with this or this. So it's up to you. Now let us follow the circuit. I got my port 0 to my positive connection of my LED. So I have my port 0 to my positive. How can we identify the positive of my LED here? It's really easy. The positive, I told you, that is the non-flat side of the LED. You see, this is like a circle, and in here I got the flat shape. So remember, always the flat shape it's the negative, and in this case in the simulator the positive is labeled also with this I don't know flat. No, it's not a flat. This change on the movement of the leg, you see. And also if you put your mouse over the connection you get the anodos and you get the cathodos, so it's actually easier to identify positive and negative. So again, my connection goes to the positive of my LED, and after that it goes connected to negative, and I need to use the resistance 313 orange brown. This is the value, and that's it. And the same goes for port number 1 and port number 2. Now we need to check the input, the digital input, port number 3. Again, I got my connection from the port to the button and to my resistance, and so the purple connection goes to one leg of my button, and also it goes to my resistance. Here I used 313 ohms because we only have two values on your kit, 313 and 217. The best value is 1 kilo, so I used 1 kilo resistance here in my simulation. But don't worry, if you don't want to use this, you can change the value. Actually, I don't know why it's not, but okay, let me do this. That's it. So you can use also this value. It's up to you, it doesn't matter. So that's it. We get the same phenomena, so it is going to work. And then after the button, when I press the button, I get my one logical value, that is 5 volts. So after my button I got the positive connection, and that's it. It's really easy, right? It's almost the same from the previous video. We only include 2 more digital outputs, but it is not a big deal. So this is it, and hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.